Ja, hallo, herzlich willkommen zur Veranstaltung Internationale Solidarität gegen die globale Krise, Herausforderungen und Perspektiven zwischen Athen und Hamburg. Wir machen die Veranstaltung als Kampagne international solidarisch Schluss mit Austerität, mit der wir uns vorgenommen haben, in der Bundesrepublik, dem Land, aus dem die Austeritätspolitik auch in die ganze EU und Welt transportiert wird, diese zu Fall zu bringen und dafür auch viel aufzuräumen mit vielerlei Einreden von wir müssen alle den Gürtel enger schnallen. Und heute blicken wir auch eben auf das Land Griechenland, in dem diese EU-Politik, also die Austeritätspolitik exportiert wurde und auch die Kämpfe und begrüßen dafür Eleftheria von der SYRIZA-Jugend, mit der wir die aufgeworfenen Fragen gleich diskutieren können. Ich sage vorab ein paar organisatorische Sachen und übergebe dann an Elias für den inhaltliche Einführung. Wir sind jetzt hier im Hörsaal von der Sozialökonomie. Ihr tragt euch bitte in die Kontaktlisten ein. Wir nehmen die Veranstaltung auf Video auf und wer später bei der Diskussion seinen Redebeitrag nicht aufgenommen sehen möchte, kann sich im Nachhinein an Arthur wenden. Genau. Die Toiletten findet ihr, wenn ihr rausgeht, links die Treppe hoch für die Männer und im Erdgeschoss rechts für die Frauen. Wir werden gleich auf Englisch auch sprechen und es gibt die Möglichkeit der Übersetzung. Deswegen wollten wir fragen, ob irgendjemand hier im Raum von Englisch auf Deutsch gerne mit übersetzt sehen wollen würde oder ob wir sozusagen Englisch alle verstehen und dann später in der Diskussion die Wortbeiträge von Deutsch auf Englisch übersetzen können. Deswegen die Frage, wollt ihr eine Übersetzung von Englisch auf Deutsch? Okay, gibt es jemanden, Entschuldigung, danke. Okay, gibt es jemanden, der eine Übersetzung von Englisch auf Deutsch möchte? Okay, ansonsten denke ich, können wir ja auch im Verlauf das irgendwie untereinander gut klären, falls es doch Nachfragen gibt. Genau, das. Hä? Okay. Genau, also ja, okay, ich glaube, das war erstmal das, was ich organisatorisch sagen wollte und übergebe an Elias.
Ja, hallo auch von mir. Wir freuen uns sehr, dass wir heute mit Eleftheria diese Diskussion machen können. Wir haben uns ja zu G20 schon in Hamburg kennengelernt, das ist ja mittlerweile 4 Jahre her. Damals haben wir eine Veranstaltung gemacht, in deren Vorfeld uns ein brasilianischer Genosse besucht hat, der über die spezifische Lage in Brasilien damals berichtet hat. Leonardo ist, glaube ich, heute Vorsitzender der Unidad Popular in Brasilien. Und warum erzähle ich das? Weil ich glaube, dass insofern von Lateinamerika relativ viel zu lernen ist, als dass der historische Prozess da ja so angefangen hat, oder jetzt also in jüngeren Zeiten mit dem 21. Jahrhundert, dass sich die linken Staaten zusammengetan haben, um eine Allianz zu bilden, die eine Alternative zu dem neoliberalen Wirtschaftsmodell und dem imperialistischen Diktat der USA bilden sollte. Ich war damals 2005, 2006 in Argentinien, als gerade der Gipfel, damals glaube ich auch G20 oder Vereinigung der amerikanischen Staaten war in Mar del Plata. Das war der Gipfel, wo Hugo Chavez, Fidel Castro und auch Diego Maradona sich zusammengefunden haben und also dieses Staatenbündnis mit ins Leben gerufen haben. Hugo Chavez hat damals eine Rede gehalten, wo er sagte, ALCA, also die Staatenvereinigung der neoliberal regierten Länder unter dem Diktat der USA, was George Bush damals angestoßen hat, soll sich zum Teufel scheren. ALCA al Carajo. Und in dem Zusammenhang hat sich eben dieses linke solidarische Staatenbündnis gegründet. Ich meine, dass das zumindest einen Vorschein darauf auch wirft, was die Perspektive für eine europäische progressive Transformation sein könnte und sein müsste. Wir sind davon, glaube ich, noch relativ weit entfernt. aber wir sehen diese Verständigung erstens für notwendig und zweitens auch also für die sinnvollste Angelegenheit, die man gerade in diesen Zeiten tun kann. Deswegen freuen wir uns eben auch ganz besonders, dass wir Eleftheria heute hier begrüßen können, weil in diesen Zeiten ja umso mehr internationale Solidarität notwendig ist. Wir haben damals auch schon diskutiert, warum die Austeritätspolitik insgesamt für die Welt, aber spezifisch in Europa auch ein Problem ist, als Antwort auf die Finanz- und Wirtschaftskrise 2007 und 2008. Und im Prinzip war diese Veranstaltung, die wir damals gemacht haben, auch so ein bisschen der Startschuss oder die Initialzündung dafür, dass wir hier diese Kampagne gegen die Austeritätspolitik gestartet haben. Und meines Erachtens ist das, womit wir es heute zu tun haben, ja nur die Fortsetzung der Krise 2007, 2008, weil sie eben auf keiner Ebene, weder politisch, ökonomisch, sozial, kulturell irgendwie gelöst ist, sondern im Gegenteil ja noch vertieft wurde. Und deswegen also eine sozial-transformatorische Wende umso mehr auf der Tagesordnung steht. Und wir haben dabei die Schwierigkeit zu gewärtigen, dass die Bedingungen dafür, eine solche internationale Verständigung hervorzubringen, eben besonders eingeschränkt sind. Es war eben auch die SYRIZA-Regierung, die 2015 in Griechenland gewählt wurde, die eigentlich so ziemlich den ersten Hoffnungsschimmer für Europa bedeutet hat, dass es auch anders geht als neoliberal. Und wir mussten ja auch feststellen, dass es nicht zuletzt, sondern zuallererst die deutsche Bundesregierung war, die diesen Versuch mit allen Mitteln versucht hat, wieder klein zu kriegen. Und auch der wesentliche Faktor dafür, dass die SYRIZA-Regierung sich nicht hat halten können, sondern dass es ein negatives Rollback gegeben hat. Nichtsdestotrotz bin ich der Überzeugung und der Auffassung, dass sich schon allein über diesen Prozess, 4 Jahre waren das ja Regierungszeit, unheimlich viel positiv hat bewegen lassen. Und darüber können wir sicherlich auch noch diskutieren, dass, glaube ich, auch nicht zuletzt an dieser Initialzündung liegt, dass es heute immerhin ja in Portugal und Spanien auch linke Regierungen gibt und diese Perspektive eigentlich umso mehr auf der Tagesordnung steht. Wir wollen aber vor allem erstmal, glaube ich, reflektieren, verstehen, wie die Lage in Griechenland ist, wie sich das in den letzten 4 Jahren entwickelt hat, um dann auch diskutieren zu können, wie wir aus heutiger Sicht zu einer neuen Qualität von internationaler Solidarität kommen können. Und insofern freue ich mich, dass ich jetzt das Wort übergeben kann an Eleftheria.
It's always very, very nice for me to come back to Hamburg because I feel very warm welcome of the comrades here, and also it gives me a positive stress about what should I say and how should I start and everything. But then I realized that once you start talking, you know, everything seems easier and starts flowing very, very in a very relaxing way, let's say. I want to tell you some very few things about what is currently happening in Greece, how we face all these things with the corona crisis and the challenges that are actually still now ahead of us. And then I would really, really love to answer questions that you may have or problematics that may rise from what I say or from our discussion together. So now we have to see, first of all, some things that happen in Europe. The fact that the Recovery and Resilience Fund came gives, let's say, an image that finally a fractured Europe starts to come back together and starts to find harmony. And okay, let's start with the fact that this is a positive step, but for sure it has nothing to do with creating harmony and the European Union and the Eurozone. First of all, with the fact that the Stability Pact has been suspended until the end of 2022. Now the discussions that have been on the table about the change of the Stability Pact, in my opinion, and I think in most of southern countries' opinion, is mandatory. The fact that the limits of the Stability Pact of 60% public debt and 3% deficits are only met right now by Luxembourg in the Eurozone. So it makes it actually impossible for the rest of the countries to follow up. Greece now has a public debt more than 200%. And it faces the danger to skyrocket following the aftermath of the corona crisis. And also we have to keep in mind that Greece has recently kind of stepped over a 10-year financial crisis, as Elias said, starting 2008 and 2009. So it is a very, very unstable economy, and it faces the risk, among with other countries of the European South, to have huge problems and maybe start again the conversations about austerity and long-term surveillance. This, of course, could be the goal, let's say, of the Recovery and Resilience Fund, because giving countries the money may sound very, very ideal, but then it also has the danger inside that we will keep an eye on you then. Now in Greece, this money that we receive as a country, in other countries, for example, Portugal, they have a development bank, a national development bank dealing with the money. And in Greece, the very interesting fact is that the loans and the grants given, the grants, okay, has some priorities and so on and so forth. And the loans actually were given to the banks, the private banks, so that they, at their own, with their own decisions, channel the money to the Greek economy. Right now, what we face is the economic Darwinism, with a huge amount of small and medium enterprises that are in Greece facing the risk, actually 4 out of 10 of them, to stop existing. And at this point, it's very, very important to say something about that, because I had a conversation with the comrades here that small and medium enterprises in Greece is not just something that happened. The number of small and medium enterprises back in the civil war in Greece, if you were a communist or a leftist, you were not allowed to work in the public sector. You had to have a flyer like that stating that you are not a communist in order to be, or a leftist in order to be able to be employed in the public sector. That is why a vast majority of leftist people back then and progressive, let's say, started their own businesses, which as a tradition was, then went to their children and the children and the children. This is one of the reasons why there is such a big number of small and medium enterprises in Greece. And those exactly face the risk of cease to exist. And right now in the government, this is a good thing. They say, okay, we have way too many. Maybe the corona crisis is just an opportunity to clear up the economy and see what is strong to survive. Otherwise, we can skip it. Now I started talking too much, and I actually wanted to say some things, but maybe we can do it in the discussion. The government right now in Greece faces a danger that all the governments face in worldwide. So it's actually a political decision how you will deal with a system that has proven to be wrong, has proven to be a failure for so many years and so many times, and you blindly and obsessively choose to continue following a program like that, a neoliberal program with privatizations in a period that the public sector showed that it has been the only way to support a crisis like corona crisis. And it is completely crazy in my mind that obsessively many of the conservative governments insist on austerity programs, neoliberal agendas, privatizations, and dealing with the public sector as if it's a heavy patient, dragging and dragging the society backwards, anti-development, as it has been called many, many times, and trying to push it downwards. With this, at least in Greece, we have the suppression of social rights, educational rights, and a number of rights, which in the shadow of and the fear of the corona crisis silently are passed in the Greek parliament, legislations and laws that suppress more and more working, social, educational, cultural, and any kind of rights. I know that I have said some things a bit confusing, but I would like to stop here so that I give floor to questions and maybe more specific problematics and have an exchange of views instead of me talking and talking. But I will try to also analyze more things that you will set to me as questions and so on. So thank you very, very much for now. And also in advance, thank you for for doing a dirty job.
So, first, thank you, Eleftheria, for the Redebeitrag. It's very, for me, it's always interesting to hear people from different perspectives talking about the same plague that we have, that is neoliberalism, and that it never works in any country, in any perspective, in any culture. It doesn't matter. It will never work, and it always has a very destructive effect. And some things that you told me make me remember a lot of stuff in Brazil, because we are going through the same thing. And since 2016, we have an extreme neoliberal agenda that is basically destroying all the minimum rights that we achieved since 2002 with our leftist government. But I would like to make actually a more specific question. And you said that the medium and the small and medium companies are in a heavy crisis now, and in Brazil it's also the same. Basically, most of them are going broke now, and the government has no interest in sustaining this economy that's very important for the population that lives just for that, especially in the Aftenland, especially in the countryside, where the small and medium companies have a very important role. And my question would be, at least in Brazil, is so that in the same rate that small and medium companies go down and go broke, huge companies and huge concerns go up and make more profit and start taking more shares of these markets. But we are also suffering from a very heavy industrialization. So since 2002, we had also due to our leftist government, a very strong industrialization, which also created a medium class in Brazil. That was the first time in history that we had such a thing. And now it's basically destroyed also. And that would be my two questions. So is also that, so in Greece, that this rate of small and medium companies going down and huge companies going up also like this. And I forgot my second question. And no. Yeah, but just this question, then it's enough to answer everything. Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe Lucas did the the dirty job as well to start the questions and then they will follow. Yes. In Greece, and I assume in many, many countries, it is also a matter of financing. As I said earlier, from the Recovery and Resilience Fund, the loans part was given to private banks, and they said, okay, take this money and do what you think it's better for you to invest, what is more investor-friendly. So exactly in this way, the small and medium enterprises are denied access to financing, actually, because also according to banking criteria, if you're in a red line of having access to financing, then you're not allowed to be financed, to get funds, access to funds. So this is the irony that actually the enterprises that do not need financing actually have access to financing, and the companies, the small and medium enterprises that had to carry a huge burden throughout the 2 lockdowns in Greece, and I assume also in Germany and other countries, and Brazil. These small, medium enterprises with people up to 9 people. We are talking in Greece that the small and medium enterprises, they are most of the times either until 5 or 9 people. So these exact enterprises are blocked from financing and face the risk of go bankrupt. And the big enterprises that actually do not need to have access to financing are the ones that are in the green banking criteria, and they are investor friendly, so they have absolute access to financing. So yes, I think it is the irony of neoliberal agenda and capitalism that actually, who needs, I mean, the classes and enterprises and society parts that need more are drained from rights, from dignity, from life itself. And then everything goes to the ones that actually don't need those things. And it sounds very elitistic to say they don't need those things, but you understand how I want to make a point out of it, that it's one thing talking about equality and one thing about, you know, actually now you gave me an opportunity to say something that I wanted to say earlier about inequalities. And not only in the small, medium enterprises, financing and all these things. This period now more than ever is a huge challenge for our society to fight against inequalities. And because you also talked about the small and medium enterprises in a regional level, here in Germany you have more than 20 big city centers that operate as, okay, it's federal as well, but in Greece, apart from Athens, Thessaloniki, or 2 or 3 more cities, it's as if they face even more dangers of a complete exclusion, complete disintegration, and complete, you know, abandonment. Because also the plan that was made in Greece to actually use the Recovery and Resilience Funds has no regional, you know, approach. 0 regional approach, which means that rural areas, island areas, that we have 2,000 islands in Greece, it's as if they don't exist. And they come back to existence in summer, that tourism, you know, brings a lot of input in the Greek economy, but throughout the lockdown and throughout the difficult times, they were completely abandoned, completely left to face the challenges on their own. And yeah, for now I want to say this, but later I think inequalities is the key word to access many things, and also we as the left should not fall in the trap of using the word inequalities, exploit actually the word inequalities in our political stigma right now. But I will say later something on that I have talked about with some of the comrades here, so it was of utmost interest how inequalities will slide into our everyday life and the talk about inequalities. Is there another question, or? Not from you, generally. Okay, then let me put some oil to the fire. Okay, taking again the word of inequalities. Now, there is a huge discussion about the vaccination, non-vaccination, and the access of vaccinated and non-vaccinated people. It's very noble that we as the left, we would like to support and stand up for everyone and not leave anyone, not support exclusion and violent actually exclusion of anyone. But I want to set one question to each and every one of us here now. Did we stand up for all kind of exclusions in the past? Did we stand up for all kind of, division in our societies the way we do now? Maybe we did in some point, but for example, because I remember a recent event in Greece regarding culture, we said in the theatrical, for example, performances that it was a 2G, imagine it, we don't have 2G and 3G in Greece, but you were allowed to go into a theater performance only if you had been vaccinated. So there was an actor that said that he didn't want to be vaccinated, and the production gave him the opportunity to be in the performances, but with conducting tests twice a week, I think. And then he said, no, I don't want to give performances only for vaccinated people, because culture should be something that nobody should be excluded, everyone should be allowed to participate, and it's unfair to be any kind of exclusion in culture. And I come to ask him, not him, but I come to set the question, did he stand up for any kind of exclusion in the past? In every theater that he performed, was there hyper titles for people that could not hear or could not, or had other kind of problems? Was there a disability, a ramp for every disabled person that wanted to participate and see his performance? So was this, or was it just, one opportunity to be a revolutionary and say that you don't want any kind of division and exclusions in your theater performance? But this doesn't come to anyone's mind when it comes to small, let's say, parts of society that maybe sometimes they don't have even the support to raise their voice. So this comes to me as a question generally for the left. It is noble to support the right of everyone to be vaccinated or not vaccinated. And it is our debt actually to, as we discussed earlier, to be informed about getting vaccinated, but not forced and used as a scapegoat to polarize society. But did we defend so passionately all kind of exclusions in the past? Or is it just being carried away by a flow that, what I mean to say is that we as the left should not just follow events. We should not just follow what happens in front of us and have answers or raise questions regarding that. We should bring on the table the questions, and we should bring, we should not only have answers, because we tend to have answers to everything, and we tend to have something to say all the time about everything, but we should be the ones to raise the questions, not just have our own answers to questions that others raise. So I think it's a fantastic opportunity for the left to have a specific political stigma and to have a specific political agenda, not answering to what has been already said by others, but raising exactly the questions of how we should proceed. And coming to talking about international solidarity, I want you to imagine international solidarity as a Greek salad. So let's say that different countries in Europe are tomatoes, cucumber, olives, European Union, let's say, or things that unite us is the oil and, I don't know, some salt and oregano. But this would be nothing if there was not a plate and a bowl, which is international solidarity, that you will place the salad in it in order to bring it on the table. So these all materials are nothing without the bowl that you will bring it on. So let's make this bowl the international solidarity. I think it's very challenging now to think internationally, since every country faces their own problems and with different, dynamics. But this has always been the case, the dynamics and the differences between the countries, between the money of the countries, between the politician of the countries. But the working class has not so many differences in different countries. I mean, the people that we represent and the people that we want to speak for are not so different in the different countries of the Eurozone. So, yeah, at the end of the day, I think that we should rethink, as the left, what actually is our influence in society, and what is our purpose in existing? Is it our purpose in fighting between us about who is cooler and who is stronger and who is more leftist and put a meter of lefticity? I think not. And I think now that more than ever we have to think for ourselves if what we do is for inner consumption or if it has an impact in society and the ones that we want to represent. Yes. I'm looking forward to a question. I don't like to be a philosopher because now I give the right to people to say that Greek people always say philosophic stuff and
I would have a question, but I'm afraid to put it into English.
I can try to translate your perfect phrasing.
That's great. Du hast über die Exklusion und Inegalität gesprochen. Und die Aufgabe der Linken, so wie ich es verstehen würde, gemeinsam zu wirken für eine gesellschaftliche Veränderung. Meines Erachtens sollte das ja auch darin bestehen, also ich glaube, das Problem, was du angesprochen hast mit der Exklusion, erst darin richtig zum Tragen kommt, dass gar keine richtige Vorstellung davon besteht, was die gesellschaftlichen Möglichkeiten sind, von denen Menschen überhaupt ausgeschlossen sein können, beziehungsweise auf welcher Ebene der Ausschluss oder die Reduzierung besteht. Was ich damit sagen will, jetzt beispielhaft hat man es in der Pandemie ja damit zu tun, es wird sich gar nicht richtig darüber Rechenschaft abgelegt, welche Bedeutung eigentlich die soziale, kulturelle Interaktion nicht nur so für die unmittelbare Lebensbewältigung hat, sondern auch für die Vorstellung oder sagen wir mal meinetwegen Fantasie davon, wie Gesellschaft sein kann. Und ich glaube, dass das ein Lebenselixier für alle Menschen ist. Und ich glaube, dass darin ein sehr großes Defizit der Linken insgesamt besteht, diese menschliche Notwendigkeit überhaupt als solche wahrzunehmen und dann eben auch entsprechend gesellschaftlich zu wirken. Was sich ja darin zeigt, dass also die Opposition gegen die Politik mit der Angst oder die Eindämmungsmaßnahmen viel zu gering ausgeprägt ist, würde ich mal sagen. Und meine Frage wäre insofern, wie siehst du die Aufgabe von uns als Linken darin, da selbstbewusster, offensiver zu sein? Ich meine, es besteht eine zentrale Aufgabe darin, gegen die Angst oder die Politik mit der Angst eine neue Zuversicht oder Hoffnung zu schaffen.
I think that if we had clear answers about everything, then maybe we would have solved many problems. I think as a start, the one key thing to do as a left is, in my opinion, what I said earlier, to not just follow the events. You know, sometimes we see, for example, in Greece now, we had a lot of murder from police, and then we came to complain about that, which is very legit, but this is not something that came out of the blue or as a surprise for us. We should not just follow the events and be the tales of events and let just the events draw the map of our actions and our decisions and our policy. I think that we should bring on the table the problematics. I think the left is just the breathing point of young people studying, creating, working. I mean, the trade unions. I'm sure that if we started talking with trade unions, then they would have so many things to say to us. Do we have connections to civil society as good as we think we do? Do we have connections to cultural, athletic, sports unions as we think we do? For example, now that I said athletes, in the Olympic Games, we saw in Greece athletes that they had to take money from their friends in order to go to the Olympic Games, because they could not even afford to go to the Olympic Games, because the money, all the investment and money for sports and athletes were given to big teams. And just the smaller, let's say, athletes could not even afford to go to the Olympic Games. Can we talk to these people? Can we talk to the actors that they had to stay 2 years out of job and had to just find a way to survive and live? Can we talk to the students that they had to go out of their family home and make ends meet somehow? This is what I'm talking about, that we should reach to civil society better than we think we already do. Not wait for someone to be murdered in order to go to the Roma people to talk to them and ask for their problems. Not wait for someone from the LGBTQI community to be beaten to death or to be kicked out of a place to support them and then act for them. Not wait for women to be afraid to speak about the brutality they face in their homes and then act for them. We should be the question, not the answer. This is my view, that everything that is happening right now is not the answer to something. It raises questions, and we should be the ones that set the questions. And we will be here to find the answers, but we should not just wait for something to answer to. We should set the question.
Do you think the openness exists to hear those questions?
Sorry?
Do you think the openness, I can ask. Do you think the openness exists from country to country to hear those questions? I'm thinking about it because you brought up the question of disabilities. Like, did that actor have a fit and refuse to act because there were no captions for deaf people or something for blind people or no ramps for the physically handicapped people? I think that from country to country, there's like different blind spots. And I think that one of our weaknesses is that we can't hear the criticism in that way of the blind spots. For example, when I moved here to Germany, I couldn't understand how it could be possible to have a public transportation system without handicap ramps. Or somebody asked me, oh, can I go into this store? I'm in a wheelchair. And I was like, yeah, of course. And the colleague that was working with me was like, actually, I don't think so. There's 3 steps that goes down there. Because where I come from, that's impossible. You would never have that. That's illegal. And I think that one big problem is these blind spots. Do you have an idea of how you can overcome these like cultural blind spots? How we can make this plate to have the salad on? Because I think that that's one of the big weaknesses, is that even, as you were saying, within, there's this desire to prove who's the coolest or who's the best, but like how to make this plate with the same questions, pulling at the same saying that am selben Strang, pulling on the same string.
Okay, we have to first make sure that we will never have all the answers to all the questions. It's impossible. That is why I am saying that when you reach, then the chances and the opportunities to hear more are better. So, for example, in this supermarket, I'm not saying that that in every supermarket that maybe there are 2 steps that will prevent one person in a wheelchair going into the store, that these will be visible, and then the information will reach the left, for sure. What I'm saying is that by encouraging people to actually speak up, then the people that maybe work in the supermarket will know that in their trade union they can set this problematic, or people that will go into the supermarket on a wheelchair and actually be denied access, right? Because then you're denied access. It's not that they will tell you do not enter, but basically this is what happens. Then they will know that they can have someone, we say in Greek, eviko aota, which means that ears that are open to hear. And it's very, very important to make society understand that the left is the ears open to hear. And this does not happen when we wait. This happen when we are extroverted. When we are just introverted, talking and talking about the theories of the left and how we are so beyond things, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful to talk with comrades and exchange opinions and actually flourish and become better and better. But at the end of the day, extroversion is the answer. To go, for example, in a park and inform children about how to recycle, to be on a playground and explain to people how being different is perfectly okay. To go to a manly bar and explain how women are powerful as well, and to, I don't know how many examples I could bring, but it's in our everyday life changes that we can bring on the table and we can make things visible. That is why it's one thing being left and one thing being an organized left, and encourage other people to be organized as well, and encourage other people to speak up for themselves. So, yeah, I think that extroversion as well could be very, very helpful.
But do you think that people from different countries, like left parties from different countries, can hear this critique between each other and accept it?
I have faced in a cruel way how different left is in different countries, and it's what I said earlier, that in the end, the people that we want to be the voice of, it's the same in every country. I mean, if we deeply think about that, it is the working class. There are people, and there are young people, that they don't want to consider themselves the working class. They are people that they want to consider themselves something different or something special. I mean, not special, but you know, the elite. But we're not. So.
Yeah, I do understand, and I also think that it's a huge problem in the left that we don't reach the people as we should. That's, I think, a problem that everybody recognizes. Some people don't want to understand the critics, and some people don't want to talk about that, but it's there, and everybody knows that if the left really were in deep communication with people and with the majority, then obviously we would have much more leftist governments around the world. It's basically not that hard to understand. But I'm always skeptical also with this understanding that, okay, obviously we should hear much more people, and at the end, the only thing that the left has is the people's power, because besides it, we are not capitalists, we don't have companies, we don't have capital, so at the end, the only thing that we have is people. But it's also important, I think, to notice that the fights that we have inside left is not only fights because we doesn't understand ourselves or because we are not, we are immature or something. There are some controversial that are very important to make a perspective and to understand where should we go. If you go to the left now in Brazil, exactly this week, if you talk with the Worker Party, they would say that we shouldn't do protests until the end of the year, because that would change the statistics of the election, and that could be bad in sense of the image of left. If you talk with the communist part of Brazil, they would say that we should have begun with a country strike for 2 months ago, and now we should be showing the face of not even going to work, not even accept the measures that the government is doing. So if you talk with different lefts, they make different questions and also have different answers. And if you talk with the population, they also have different answers for the questions that we make, and they might also have different questions. So it's very diverse, and I think the problem is not only that we are not open as left to hear, but also how do we match the theory that is also important for the left and the Forderungen, how do they say? The demands that we have. Like, obviously, we have different demands in different times, but theory is also something important that we have, and if we don't be careful with taking into consideration the leftist theory, sometimes we go to a populist side, and that's not so difficult to happen. That happens also very häufig frequently in the history. So my question, just to resume, would be, how do we match the theory that we develop inside leftist movements and leftist parties with the demands that come almost organic in the society?
Okay, first of all, I didn't mean, I don't know if this is what came out. I didn't say that we should not fight or we should not. Of course, in the left, there are so many. We would write the 50 Shades of Red book in the left if we wanted. And as I said yesterday to some of the comrades here, you know, the left is such an interesting mixture, at least in Greece or Italy. How I feel it and how I experience it throughout the years is that with the comrades that now you may fight and shout and insult each other. In 1 year you will be hugging on a square, being happy about a win that you achieved. And of course it is the left that, you know, the problematics of the left rise so often that we are comrades and we will sit on a table and maybe it will take 10 hours, but we will solve the problem. I'm sorry, but this is how we learned. And this is how, as you said, different times demand different answers and different movements and different actions. But also, yes, to be open to hear. What you said earlier, yes, the left is open to hear, but the left should not only be open to hear in a more passive way. It should reach to create questions also, not just be here, tell me your problems. It should be active and extroverted in searching for the questions to rise in each level and each point. And also what we have learned from the left, and we are comrades here, and we know that, of course there will be opportunists, of course there will be people that exploit the left in order to make career or anything. But what we should keep in mind is that we, as the left, we don't float over society and point the fingers to them and explain to them what they are doing wrong. We come from society, and if society is a spring, we come out from this spring. So we should not just float over them and say how unfair society is with the left, that they are not voting for us and everything. We should find out why this is happening. And people, because there are comrades here as well, that they are older and they will have way more experience than we do, is that to keep in mind that the left doesn't owe us anything. We will be always owing to the left for the rest of our existence and our kids' existence and everything. So the left doesn't owe us a career, it doesn't owe us money, it doesn't owe us anything. We will be always thankful and we will always owe to the left. That's how I perceive things. So, as a resume, I think that we should be more extroverted and we should seek for questions instead of answers.
Okay, I give it a try in English. Maybe I have to change into German. I think the main problem at the moment is the pandemic of neoliberalism. It's also the cause of the pandemic of Corona, I think. And so the problem at the moment, I think, is that this collective structural problem of neoliberalism is divided into a thing that we individually have to stay at home and this is our solidarity, to stay at home and to not meet other people, to don't infect other people, and that the structural problem of a neoliberal healthcare system and the capitalistic patent system is verdrängt. Is pushed to the side. It's not realistic to change things like this. It's illusionary. We have to stick to small steps and so on. And so I think the main thing we have to reach as a left or as people is to make clear that it is not a natural catastrophe. It is a neoliberal catastrophe, and that we have to collectively solve this problem. And so we have to organize. And I think this is one aspect when the ruling class is doing all the lockdowns, is that they want to push aside that they ruined, for example, the healthcare system. So they say stay at home and we are solving the problem. And so I think one thing we have to reach is to view it as this structural problem, that to organize collectively. And my question is, how are the people in Greece, for example, viewing the lockdown? What do they think? What needs to be done at the moment? What are protests maybe against the lockdown? Are there left protests against the lockdown, or are there maybe only right protests against the lockdown? And my second question is, because I understood it, that the base of also the SYRIZA victory was a broad movement of everyday solidarity in a civic society. It's not, maybe it's more in Spain, it was more like there were charismatic people in TV shows, and then they made also a victory of left party, but SYRIZA was very based in civic society and everyday solidarity. So my question is, how is it at the moment with these civic society, everyday solidarity actions, or how did this develop, and is it also a source of solidarity or hope to overcome this crisis, which zugespitzt durch Lockdown-Politik und so, keine Ahnung.
Right now, the government has made it clear that there will be no lockdown. I don't know if this will stand for a long time, because currently we have 150 deaths per day in Greece, so the rate is really, really high, and I don't know whether they will keep saying that there will be no lockdown. There are no protests right now because the government has made it clear that there will be no lockdown. I don't know if there will be protests because honestly people are super afraid. But for sure there have been protests from people from the trade. I mean, people from supermarkets and everything, and or from small businesses that if they have a lockdown, they face a huge danger of ceasing to exist. Because, okay, there has been financial support, but it's not even close to what an actual business needs to make ends meet. So what we have to fight now in Greece very, very strongly, but I think generally is individualism, because the crisis of the pandemic is one of the crises Greece is facing right now. As you may have heard, during summertime we had enormous wildfires, and people are still, I mean, there are so many people still that they don't even have a home to come back to. And so there is the government still doesn't know how to face this problem. They don't make extraordinary financing to those people that they don't have a home right now. They don't take action. So I think for a very big majority of Greek people, they have so many priorities right now that they keep aside the possibility of a lockdown, because the government has said that there will be no lockdown. But in all those cases that I have mentioned, individualism is the huge danger. Because if you go to a student right now and tell them that, I don't know if you have no idea how university is, you don't even know your classmates, but come to join us, they will say, honestly, I don't know whether I will manage to finish university. If you go to a worker right now and tell them, come join us, they will tell you, come on, the government votes for elasticity of 8-hour working. I don't care about that because I don't know if I will have my job next month, or I'm exhausted by working on Sundays and over hours unpaid. So yes, here's exactly where we come. A fantastic example of a collective fight recently in Greece was with you have Deliveroo here in Germany. We have e-food in Greece. You know, the food application that you order and then they bring you the food. So they voted for complete flexibility and flexicurity, actually, in hours of working and with no contracts. Just individually, contract individually, and so on and so forth. So we had, I don't know, approximately 4,000 motorbikes in the Athens streets, and also civil society supported very much this by deleting the application, and from 4.5 out of 5 stars, they had 1 star in one day. So civil society stood up for the workers and said, no, we will not allow you to do that. So after 2 days, they hired all the people that they already had with how we say, with the contract, collective wage agreements, and also with the unlimited time contract. Yeah, like forever. And so this is a huge win of civil society and shows that reflections actually have, you know, they can work collectively. If you were a Deliveroo hero, whatever, with motorbike and started shouting outside of the Ministry of Finance, they would say, okay, who cares? But when 3,000, and I can show you photos, if you Google e-food demonstration in Athens, you will see a red syntagma square from the motorbikes of these people claiming the basics, not something crazy, just dignity in their work. Yeah, so this is what we should fight for, fight against individualism, and to show that only collective problems need collective answers. Yeah.
I'd like to pick up the thoughts that you expressed before, stating that we should pose more questions. And Lucas already said something to this. I think, I suppose I can understand what's the background of you saying this. I would say we as a left in Germany have a different challenge. We should give more answers. It's my suggestion. I would say maybe the problem you're addressing with saying this is that parts of the left have become too, how do you say, bequem, comfortable with their position, having been to the government and well, having at least 25% or 30% of people's votes. So there should be more like openness, stating the real questions that people interest. I think here in Germany we have the main problem that we have many answers to this to the problems that our society faces, but we are too scared to state them in public, because the main, I would say, the main means by which this whole neoliberal thing is working, a big role plays the media, stating this politics of fear right now and beforehand as well, suggesting there is no alternative to neoliberalism, and we should speak out more in terms of giving answers that addressing what plenty answers or alternatives there are. And I would say that this is the other side, being too, you said, too reactive in terms of always reacting to things. And I would give you the question, if you have an idea where this kind of reactivity results from. You know what I mean? Because I would say, at least I can say this for our role in Germany, the main issue is seeing oneself as a left in kind of minority, always criticizing what's going wrong, but never been able to be like a creator of society. And we're like, we have abgefunden. We have accepted this kind of role. And it has a lot to do with obviously the historic process that, well, the socialist model has been wiped away. So we should never speak up loud again, saying, well, there is an alternative like this. Maybe that's a big part of the problem, not seeing that how important it is right now to give these answers. And to be more confident about having them. That would be the one question, and another statement or thesis I would like to give is I would say that there. In terms of addressing, well, people's everyday problems or getting more like self-confident, I think we can't be aware enough about the importance of like historic consciousness. What I mean by saying this is I think there's a great lack of understanding the historic dimension of this actual situation that we live in terms of course, that's a part of what like the media tries to suggest. Always living from day to day, like there are new numbers, we have to follow the numbers, like what you always said with this reactivity. That's kind of produced as well, and there's a big need of understanding that this is a historic situation that I think mankind has never been to. I think this crisis is a deeper crisis than the one in the 1920s. Speaking of terms that there has by this time existed the alternative, like in Soviet Union and other models as well. And nowadays we have the complete win of a capitalist market model all over the world. But it's not the end of history, and the crisis is like the expression of this. So it's even for the accumulation of capital, it's a problem to have like a lockdown. It's a problem when people don't realize what kind of that you are as a human being you're in need of society. It's a problem even for the politics, and the ruling class as well. And maybe we should understand or try to understand more that even if there's only a small amount of people saying, well, that's a good question that you're posing as a left one, or this is a good answer that you're giving as a left one, we're even more important, even if there's only a small amount of people saying this is, well, I'm with you, or so, because like this is more the like the initiative function that we have to be confident about, and not the numbers of like Zustimmung, agreements, or how many people say that we are great.
Yeah, I'm not sure I got a question, but but I mean, it's very important that you say you have the answers to things, or at least you have some proposals. But I don't know if it is cultural, or is it's. I don't think that it's cultural. I think that it's what you said earlier about historical consciousness. I think that that if you have the confidence that you have some answers to problems, I think it's a great responsibility to put it out and speak up about that. And of course, when I said that you should raise questions, is that what I meant earlier, that we should not, exactly what you said, being some on the corner and throw stones and criticize what we witness being done. It's coming with proposals and bring things on the table as a political stigma. And, you know, because it's impossible to just go forward if you just criticize what it has been done, because then the young person that will, if what you are said was in a Facebook page and was seeing only Elias saying, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, then when they question themselves, okay, so what exactly does Elias say or proposes? If the answer is nothing, then they don't care if you criticize. They don't care if you are opposite, because they are as well. But they want to see what you have to offer. They want to see in you the voice of them. They want to see, the workers want to see their voice in what you say about working hours or collective wage agreements, or the making higher the basic salary. The students want to see in your voice about not dividing them in better or worse, or not dividing them in, not depriving them the right to see their classmates and cooperate and interact with them. And the actors want to see in you the voice of, you know, being able to work in culture, being paid for that equally, and have access, anything. So actually, if you just criticize and you have the strength to criticize, you need to take a step forward and take the strength to actually say, I say that. I say 35 hours per week, work with a minimum wage of, I don't know, we have 800 in Greece, imagine how sad this is. The claim is 800. So, but in Germany it's something else, and it's okay because it's different data and different situation. But you have to come forward and say, so we claim that. So in universities we want that. So in cultural scenes and everything we want that. In public spaces we want that. And so on and so forth. Because the people want to see what you have to say, not just that you're opposed to something else. At the end of the day, they want to see themselves in you and what you have to say, and their needs, basically. So it's good to criticize, but it's not good to just criticize. Yep.
Okay. Yes, taking this back to the Stability Pact back in 2002, I have read that back then the gross domestic product, the debt of Greece measured by the gross domestic product was 100%, and now you said that nowadays it is around 200%, 205 already. So, can you say a few more words spotlighting the situation, how it has been going since the G20, how the last 2 years in Greece were, and yeah, kind of pick it up from there, how the situation has been, because obviously the neoliberal model is leading itself ad absurdum.
But do you want me to take it from 2002 or from, because it has been a long time, or from G20?
Yeah, mainly in the last 2 years.
Okay. I mean, it's a completely different story in 2002, the gross domestic product and the public debt, and also the last 2 years with an already huge public debt of Greece after a 10-year financial crisis. I mean, when we entered the memorandum and we had 10-year almost austerity measures, the public debt was horrible. And I mean, with the corona crisis, we started in 2020 with an 8.4% deficit. I mean, when the Stability Pact talks about 3%. And in 2021, it was even higher so far. So, yeah, after the 2018 that we ended the memorandum, it was a period that Greek economy started to stabilize. But it's unstable generally. So, I mean, after a 10-year financial crisis and a crisis that comes exactly after that, the economy does not even have the time to make solid roots, let's say, and to stabilize. I'm not sure about what exactly the question is. Are you referring to the Greek economy the last 2 years, how it has been doing, or? No, I don't think that there is any kind of effect after the G20, because, I mean, who cares about Greece in G20? Tell me. I don't think that. I'm not sure I understand the question.
I think it's a question about how like the economics can go in that same direction, and like make a comment about the neoliberalism effect.
Maybe you can say what you meant. I'm not sure I understand the question about the G20.
I think you have answered the question just fine. It's just about talking a bit more and spotlighting more the situation about how it has been going since then, because last time I have really put my thought on Greece and about the situation in that way was during the G20.
Ah, okay, you mean,
like
but so you mean since the last time that we had the opportunity to talk again? Okay, yes, yeah, because I was back here in when the G20 took place, but. Okay, that was in 2017, and back then SYRIZA was still a government, and they lost the elections in 2019. In the summer of 2018, the memorandum era stopped, So everyone was kind of optimistic that now we will start going towards a stable, more stable economy, but of course with a long period surveillance. Even before the corona crisis, in 2019, that SYRIZA government was voted out of government. The government that is now in Greece, New Democracy, the Conservatives, they were very actually honest about the plan they wanted to impose. They were super honest. They didn't trick people into what they wanted to do. I mean, of course, there are shady explanations, of course, but privatizations, and people feeling that the public sector is a heavy patient, as I said earlier, was very, into everyone's mind. So they were pro privatizations. Maybe they do not understand exactly what that means. Okay, here we are to explain. But then the corona crisis came and showed that public sector actually is the one that will save the day. And that without the public sector and a strong public sector, there can be no care society. And then again, from the Resilience and Recovery Fund, what is the amount that will go to care society? 600 million out of 30.9 billion of grants. I mean, of the whole amount, actually, that Greece will receive from the Recovery and Resilience Fund, 600 million to care society. So this is what I'm trying to tell you, that we do not want to learn from the history, what is happening. History proves constantly that neoliberalism is a failed agenda, that capitalism is failed, that austerity has failed, and there is still obsession to privatizations and, private healthcare system, private energy system, and everything private. So I honestly don't know what else to do. It's just that we are here. I mean, currently I'm a bit disappointed as well, because as I was saying earlier, being the tail of events is a bad thing, and we need to obtain a strong political stigma. This is what I also expect from my party right now, because I feel like, I don't know if it's due to the corona crisis, but I feel like we need to be a bit stronger in expressing, find again the comrade bond, find again the courage to go on and be a bit more proactive instead of reactive. But it's good to criticize, and it's good to move forward.
I would like to come to one specific question, but first I would like to pick up this thought about historic consciousness. What I was thinking of, or what I was trying to say, what we need to understand more, in my opinion, is that with this whole crisis thing going on, you also mentioned the growing disparities between bigger companies and the smaller or middle-class companies, which is a process being on its way throughout the world in a dimension that obviously, well, Lenin wrote about it in 1917, but it is growing like beyond imagination right now, and on the other side we have all these effects where people in their everyday life are being confronted with this whole thing not functioning as they were told. So we have a growing part of society like open to these whole questions, or maybe the new or old answers that the left might be able to give. So that's what I was trying to point out, that we should understand, even though the situation seems to be like really bad in terms of like, well, you have the right-wing government, we have a government. It's not CDU anymore, but it's not in many terms really a different way. In many countries, we have extremist right movements and so on and so on. So, concerning the political power in terms of like percentages by elections or what you want to take, the left seems to be weak. But in this process going on in society, we are in a strong position, and there's a lot to be won in this crisis, and that's why it is well. I mean, it is important to state out more the whole ways in which society needs to change. You know, there's in Berlin this referendum going on about getting back the housing companies, and it's a big deal because obviously this is something that never happened in the history of Federal Republic of Germany. So there's a whole new dynamic going on in terms of posing bigger questions and having the need of getting answers therefore. So this is a strength that we should be aware about. And coming to this question, I would like to connect with that is, we also talked a lot about this whole thing concerning well, a European connection or working together throughout the European left party. And I think, as long as I'm concerned, and in my opinion, the German left plays a bad role in this whole process in terms of getting more confident in posing this bigger questions. So it's not only a thing about like the people in power inside our party, but I would say there's a special need for like the German left as a society force to be more aware about their specific role in this European solidarity process. So that should be my last question. What would you say is the main task for us as a left in Germany in maybe getting this progress gone?
I think you're a bit unfair to you, but I mean, it's one thing being so hard, and one thing encouraging for more and more and more. I think that generally German left. Okay, Germany is a huge country, and Germany is a country with strength in different kinds of level. So it's not always the responsibility of the left to point out. I mean, not responsibility, but also it's the left doesn't always have the ability to show to people what is going wrong. Also, what you have to keep in mind, especially now in the pandemic, is that, and I see it from Greece as well, is that you say that people understand more and more that something is going wrong. But historically, it has been shown that in times of crisis, people gather, around the leader. So even in Greece, everyone is complaining about the government, but I'm sure that if tomorrow we had elections, Syriza would lose with 10 points or something, because it's reflective. That okay, I complain, but I wouldn't feel comfortable with the change right now. I would feel more comfortable with just gathering with the others, hugging the leader right now and see where it takes us in this kind of crisis, I mean. But in the German left, I would say that cohesion is also a huge issue because, first of all, the huge country that you are, also the federal differences, and also in rules and how things go. So it creates challenges in the cohesion of the left. But as I said earlier, if you imagine Germany as a European Union, let's say, inside Germany there are differences, but again, you can find common points. And I think that if you focus on the common points and then take it from there, and create and try to have the cohesion between the organization, between the left, and make sure that you communicate, make sure that information goes to everyone, make sure that you care to have access to information and to actually find common points in order to take it from there. I think it's a great start. And also because I felt that there is this angst, this anxiety about not communicating actually and not speaking out of the solutions. At some point, everyone has to, we say in Greek, to break eggs. You know, it is not easy, and it's not easy to find the courage and to say that now I will say what I claim and I will break some eggs to make an omelette, or I will eat vegetables. I mean, you know what I'm trying to say, that to overcome the challenges that we have as the left in each country, it's huge itself. And it's even more difficult in a country so big as Germany and with so many federal states and also, I mean, differences, sorry. But I would be more optimistic in your side. But honestly, also, if you try to shape, not you as Elias, but if the left tries to shape an idea in a nice way in order to bring it somehow that it's not so problematic and all this, I think that was a main problem in the election campaign or the way that the party maybe is right now. I'm not saying it, not saying that we are better, but I say that at some point, you know, we have to come forward and say exactly what we have to say, not round it up a little bit in order to have more open ears, let's say. You have to have specific idea of who you want to represent. You cannot represent everyone because you cannot, someone will be disappointed from what you say. And we fall into the trap of trying to cover as many people as possible to say something in a way that will cover way more people. But in the end, it is a trap. If you have a clear idea of who you want to represent and form your idea and your political agenda exactly the way you have it in mind and not how you think it should be more acceptable, I think, yeah, this is the important thing.
Okay, so I don't know, maybe it was like perspective for all of us to think big, like how what we can change and what we can win, because I think also the lockdown is try to make like frontiers or borders, what we can think of, what is can change of or be the change for. So that's the problem you said of our leaders in the left party, just to say like small things, but who is to win for small things, so we can think big together, I think, for international solidarity. And maybe I don't know if someone wants to say something.
I would like to state out that maybe we should create more possibilities to have like an exchange like that. So we thank you again a lot. And yeah, we will meet again for everyone who is a student in Germany. I will switch to German right now. Wir haben hier Wahlen. Man kann uns auch wählen. Aber das wissen wahrscheinlich auch alle hier im Raum. Auf jeden Fall sollten wir das auch selbstbewusster weitererzählen, weil wir, glaube ich, schon ganz gute Antworten auf viele Fragen haben.